Good evening. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Amitha Balachandra. This is a 6:30 p.m. show that I do every single day. We pick up one topic and we get in an expert to explain everything you need to know about that particular topic. Today, we're going to talk about COVID-19 vaccine because there's been a lot of buzz about COVID-19 vaccine. We're going to find out what India's challenges and advantages are. And before I get to that, I'm going to give you a couple of developments that have happened over the last 2 days. As of today, Britain's Medicines and Healthcare Products Regulatory Agency has granted emergency use approval to Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine, which they say is 95% effective in preventing illness in record time. This is the latest development that's come in today. Apart from that, the other frontrunners we know are US's Moderna Inc., Sputnik 5 Russia, and Oxford AstraZeneca as well. And NDTV has put out a report saying that Pfizer is likely to not be available in India at this time. We're going to find out why that is the case. But apart from that, there's been a controversy, as you would know, in India with the Covishield vaccine because a 40-year-old participant in Chennai alleged adverse effects. But this is the latest update. Serum Institute of India went on to say that vaccine is safe and that this claim was malicious. In fact, the center has dismissed the allegations and now they're saying that trials will not be stopped. Serum Institute, in the meantime, is also likely to apply for emergency authorization of the vaccine in the next 2 weeks. But here's what's extremely crucial. Yesterday, the health ministry has said the government has never spoken about vaccinating the entire country. Now, this is what the Director General of State run Indian Council of Medical Research, Balram Bhargava, has said. And I'm quoting him, if we are able to vaccinate a critical mass of people and break that virus transmission, then we may not have to vaccinate the entire population. This was said at a press briefing. This is what we're going to find out today. What are the challenges India is going to be facing? What are the advantages? How long before we get a vaccine in India? And most importantly, what are the safety concerns, especially keeping in mind the latest controversies? And to have that conversation with me, I have Dr. Ashish Sinha. I'm very, very happy to have this conversation with Dr. Sinha because he's extremely knowledgeable about this subject. He's the associate professor at Indian Institute of Public Health, Gandhinagar. Additionally, he also has worked with the World Health Organization National Polio Surveillance Project India in 2004. He then joined UNDP in 2016 and implemented Electronic Vaccine Intelligence Network in Gujarat. Dr. Sinha, thank you so much for making time and speaking to us. My first question to you is about this briefing and the statement that came in from the Union Health Ministry. What's your response to the fact that the Health Ministry has now said that they may not have to vaccinate everybody in India and the focus is to break the transmission?
Yeah, so right from yesterday, ever since this news has come, and there are a lot of discussions going on. But before touching that issue, let me
Yes.
tell you one thing. Like right from the March, where ever since the pandemic started, and with the lockdown, and then our country realized how deadly is this disease, the COVID, and we have been listening whether vaccines will come or will not come, what will be the quality, how it will be, when it will come. So some of the answers are now there, that vaccine is there. It's
Hmm.
matter of now, I would say it's a matter of few weeks that uh, they may start. UK has already, they may start next week also. They have given the permission, the emergency use permission has been given by the uh, Britain's the medicines and MHRA, they call regulatory agencies of the UK. So the vaccines are there now. Now, the where India stand in this vaccine business at the moment is uh, the vaccines which has been developed by the US, this Pfizer and Moderna. They have an efficacy of almost 94.5, 95%. But the challenge with them is that their cold chain storage and the temperature that is required is ultra low temperatures.
Hmm.
For Pfizer, we require minus 70 degree for storage and transport. For Moderna, we require minus 20. So these are our challenges are there with these two vaccines. Otherwise, the efficacy is good, and they have come out with their preliminary result.
Hmm.
Now,
Uh,
where,
yes.
yeah,
Yes. Go ahead.
But so where we stand here is like there is a third vaccine that Oxford, AstraZeneca, and that Serum Institute of India has partnered for the manufacturing of it. And there also the preliminary results are there of the phase 3 trials.
Hmm.
And the overall efficacy that they have come out is that the 70%. We may go with further details in that. So the what options are there now? We have other vaccines also being developed in India, the Covaxin
Hmm.
by ICMR and Bharat-BioNTech, the Zycov-D by Zydus Cadila.
Hmm.
The another company is there which is doing trials for the Sputnik 5. Then we have Biologically that has partnered. So there are actually 5 vaccines under process in our country. Of course, Serum Institute has come out with the third phase preliminary results. So
Hmm.
looking at all these things, and these are being manufactured, or some of them are developed in our country also. So where we stand now, a country of over a billion population, 1.3, 1.4 billion population, we can't go and start vaccinating each and every. So we have to prioritize where we want to go, how we want to go ahead.
Hmm.
So what's that priority? How we'll be proceeding is the first priority. See, uh, even if you remember in one of these prime minister and chief ministers meeting, prime minister said that we will be going by the technical advice, by the scientists, by the medical bodies who will be advising. So already there has been a committee at the national level, national expert committee on COVID vaccine immunization, that will be looking at all these possibilities of which vaccines is possible and all modalities of it. So the current priority for a government is to reduce the number of deaths due to COVID and to save our healthcare system. This is a two priority. Now, to
Hmm.
ensure these two happens, we have to save our healthcare system, and number two, reduce the number of deaths. And now we go by the data, the COVID data or epidemiology that we have at the moment. We have seen the health. If you want to save our healthcare system, we need to protect them first. So the top priority is the healthcare workers, the doctors, the paramedics, the nursing staff, and all. So
Hmm.
they will be of the top priority. Number two will be the frontline other workers, which are essential workers in duties, like the police, the sanitation, and the other staffs that are there. So, and next, if you look at the mortality data, 80%, almost 80% of deaths due to COVID in India is in age group above 50 years. Almost it's around 50% is in age group above 60. And
Hmm.
if you go for above 50, almost 80% deaths are there. So we should protect that, if you because our priority is to reduce the mortality at first. So
Okay,
then
so
the
your
next priority
yes.
will be 50 plus, and then there will be those who are comorbid below 50. And if
Hmm.
we target this, we have to understand our challenges also. If we
Hmm.
target this group will be around almost 30 40 crores. This will be, if you look at our big country. And if we get the vaccine with the logistics and all, if we target this, and then a time may come when we will, if we immunize a very a critical number, what will be that percentage, we still have to be worked out and see, and the time may tell exactly what can be. So then the herd immunity will also come into play. So
Hmm.
one way, it's rather than targeting the entire nation, we should target this focus group first, and then further decisions as per the availability of the
But
vaccines and all
but
can
you
be taken.
believe that transmission could be that transmission chain could be broken. That's what you're effectively saying. But isn't that
Yes.
a long haul?
Yeah,
Because
it will.
currently we're at 9.5 million cases,
Yeah.
and we're talking about second wave, not just in many parts of India, but in other parts of the world as well.
Yeah, see, the vaccines, it's not that we have to start with the vaccines, and if we target this priority group, and some are already infected, they also have immunity among them now because antibodies are there and things. So that's the decisions will be taken at appropriate time, and we don't have enough evidence also whether how long this immunity is there and all. So considering the numbers and all, see, if we immunize 30 40 crores, definitely the scale of pandemic will come down. And that is why time and again it has been repeated, even if the vaccine comes and immunization starts, we will have to follow all COVID protocols. We can't get away with this mask and sanitization and the physical distancing or social distancing. That has to be followed even after the vaccines come. So targeting 1.3 billion is better. First we prioritize. UK is also doing the same thing. Of course they will be immunizing their entire country, but they are going in a phased manner. First priority, they have set out three priorities for the first phase, like they will be immunizing those engaged in the
Hmm. Correct.
care home,
Yes.
then the elderly above 80 plus population, then the those who are in the national health system of the UK, and then 70 plus. So they are also going enough. They will be immunizing entire country. But
Hmm.
for us, considering our numbers and challenges, it is the priorities.
Okay, so you're saying it's better to go by the priority, but I want to ask a couple of questions are coming in the chat window, and this is related to what you said earlier as well with the Pfizer vaccine. And this is one question that's coming from Arun Babu. Aniket has also contributed to us. Thank you so much for that contribution. But Arun has asked this: do we need and require additional cold chain infrastructure because Pfizer needs to be stored at minus 70 degrees?
Yeah.
And that's something that perhaps is a challenge for India.
Yeah, see this whatever vaccine like Pfizer, it's minus 70 storage they require. The
Hmm.
Moderna, this minus 20, and whatever the vaccines which are being developed in our country, including that Oxford AstraZeneca, the UK based,
Hmm.
they these vaccines will be at +2 to +8.
Hmm.
So this is in line with our existing infrastructure that we have for the cold chain in terms of vaccine
Hmm.
immunization. Our universal immunization program is also aligned with this +2 to +8 degree. Now
Hmm.
Pfizer minus 70 degrees, we need infrastructure, so that's not there at the moment. And
Hmm.
all the low and middle income countries will have this challenge of creating this minus 70 degree storage facility. And I'm sure this can never be done right up to the last mile. If at all
Hmm.
it can be done, then it will be at the big cities at a district or a state level. They may think over it. At the moment it's not there. We don't have a facility at the health system for in such a huge numbers for
Hmm.
minus 70 or even minus 20. We don't have that much strong, but +2 to +8 we have
Hmm.
something in place.
In fact, we were
So
looking
that's
at an NDTV article which has just come out an hour ago, which has said that Pfizer COVID vaccine never applied for India trials permission, according to sources, and this is according to NDTV. There you go. That's what NDTV is reporting.
yeah.
But also, if you can tell us, then is Oxford vaccine the best bet? But with the controversy that just happened, of course, the center has now dismissed the allegations and said that the trials won't stop. But is that a concern here in India right now?
Yeah, see, all there are trials are the standard trials have been done for all these vaccines.
Hmm.
Pfizer, Moderna, AstraZeneca, Oxford AstraZeneca. These three vaccines have come out with their results. None of the other have not declared any results.
Hmm.
Sputnik 5 came up with some preliminary that their efficacy is also 90%, 92%. Otherwise, they have not disclosed much details. These three companies have come up with some details. Now, there are different phases, and they have done regarding this Oxford vaccine.
Hmm.
Initially, there was earlier also the trials were halted. Actually, there were one case adverse event in UK, and then there was some temporary that, but that's the normal procedure. It was halted. There are regulatory authorities which in the standard procedures for investigating any adverse event whichever occurs in trials. So it was
Hmm.
investigated, and finally it was concluded that this is not due to the vaccine.
Hmm.
Similarly, in our country, that the case that we are discussing is the Chennai case, that somebody,
Yeah.
one of the volunteers uh, have raised an issue that it's because of the vaccine that he has suffering from some medical disorder. But then there are standards. See, if there is any adverse event because of this, there is a ethics committee. The principal investigator who is investigating, they will respond to it. The ethics committee must have done their role. The regulator is there. The regulators will do their part.
Mm,
So it's not that easy to get away with this trials. So if
mm,
and there are no other case, so it's very less likely that this will be a vaccine, because I have been also
yeah.
earlier part of the adverse event following immunization committees, and also we do very rigorous uh, efforts to ensure that whether what could be the reason for this adverse event.
And
So
that's
this
one of the
is very
questions that's
unlikely.
coming in the chat window as well, whether people should be concerned about these cases. Should people be concerned? Should volunteers, for instance, also be concerned?
I don't think there is any big reason to be concerned, because there are standard. See, these are under very stringent measures. There are a lot of regulatory processes that has to be followed,
Hmm.
and so there is nothing. And these are all one thing we have to remember, that these are all basically a killed virus. So, and till date, not a single see this Oxford vaccine have been administered to almost 3,000 volunteers in UK, 8,000 plus in Brazil. They are under trials, 10,000 in US, in other countries. So this is not a very and there hasn't been any serious adverse event. Minor ones like headache, some pain at the injection sites. These are minor AFIs which are taken care of. So there has nothing been serious. So there is no point to worry.
Hmm.
And people can volunteer. And also, once vaccine comes, we should there should not be any issue with this.
I
And
also want, yes.
yeah, even after this vaccine will come into implementation in administration to the beneficiaries, then the phase 4 begins, the post marketing surveillance of the vaccine. So the companies will be looking, the authorities will be looking whether is there any other adverse event, and if there is any, again there are procedures to investigate and come and follow the procedures after that also.
Hmm. And do you also believe that we have the number of trained personnel? Because we've spoken about cold chain storage, we've spoken about distribution, which are, of course, challenges. But what about administration of the vaccine itself?
So that's what I was telling in the beginning. Like, one milestone that is very close is that a vaccine is available now. So the
Hmm.
next is its manufacture, distribution, storage, and administration. Now we have the strength of our country. If I compare, though of course there are challenges which I'll explain that also, but if you look at our strength compared to many other countries, we have a very big, very robust universal immunization program, at
Hmm.
least better than many other countries. So, and we have been doing pulse polio campaigns where we immunize almost 20 crore children in a short period of time. Of course, that's an oral vaccine, but cold chain is still there in that also. We
Hmm.
recently, last 2 3 years, we completed measles rubella campaign where we immunized almost uh, one third of the population, or one fourth of the population was immunized of the entire country. Of course, that was spread over few years, but then that was also, so so what I mean to say is we have some experience of mass immunization. Now, if we look at challenges, so we have a cold chain where we can store our vaccine at +2 to +8, and there are transport mechanisms are also there. And what I have heard is recently the government, the center has also tried to augment these if there are more equipments are required. So that's also in process, and we have at least reasonable number of cold chain equipments.
Hmm.
Then comes the next is who will be administering the vaccines, that we call it as a vaccinators.
Hmm.
Of course, in the government sector, if, the numbers are maybe around some 50 70,000 vaccinators nationwide, those who can administer this vaccine, because this will be an injectable vaccine. And then I think authorities should also try to rope in the private sector, the available, because the private has been very willingly supporting all these activities right from the beginning of the pandemic. So efforts must be made to rope in the private sector also in this drive. So that may help some to increase our manpower, trained manpower, and then we can also think of taking from the various nursing institutions that are there, or medical institutions, if that can be there. Of course, no country, including ours, doesn't have that huge manpower to administer. So we'll have to uh, drop in from private and other sectors, and we have to also plan it that we have to extend the number of days as we will have these challenges. So the number of days will have to be required will be more to vaccinate, because one team may not or may be able to vaccinate almost 100% in a day. So we may require more number of days to complete this priority population itself.
One of the other things that is being asked in the chat window right now, and thank you, Arun, for the contribution. But this is something that Saifur has asked. Do you believe that efficacy level above 90% is good enough with a success rate of 95%? Is it good enough to? Is it a good idea to vaccinate? That's something that people are asking as well.
Yeah, efficacy of above 90 is very, very good.
Mm,
I see above 90 efficacy, say no vaccine is 100% efficacious.
mm,
And we also need to understand one other terminology, like one is efficacy and the other is effectiveness. The
mm,
efficacy is what we are hearing now. This is 90%, this is 95%, this is 70%. These are efficacy results from the very controlled trial. So this was available in the best environment,
mm,
because in controlled trials, they administer these vaccines in the healthy individuals. They
mm,
select, the subjects are selected. Whereas when it will come to an implementation in a general population, it will be extremes of age will be there. People will be with various morbidities among themselves. So the cold chain maybe and whether it's maintained or not, the technique of administration. So all this will actually further reduce the what we are looking at 95-90%. So the actual effectiveness will be lesser than this efficacy also. But
mm,
this 90% plus efficacy extremely good. I would also say that 70% efficacy is also good,
mm.
because US FDA and WHO and all other regulators have said right in the beginning that even a vaccine with 50% efficacy will be given a permission.
Mm,
So these all vaccines have actually crossed that.
mm,
So I don't see if so I would. That's why this Serum Institute Oxford vaccine, they have declared that it's 70%. Of course, there are still
yes,
some issues attached to that also. But if
yes.
the efficacy is less, we target for a greater coverage. We have to, in a public health, see, we have to look into a lot of things. Is the logistics. The
Mm,
cost is equally important.
mm.
The cost of the Pfizer, Moderna is very, very high compared to what vaccines are being developed in our country. So all these, if you consider, the always the weightage goes to our which we are being developing, or the Serum Institute, which they are also going to apply within 2 weeks to
Yes.
for emergency use in our
Oh,
country also.
yes. All right, Dr. Sinha, many thanks for joining us with all of the information that you gave us. A couple of things that you mentioned. Of course, there are challenges like distribution, cold chain storage, etc. But there are many advantages, including the fact that we have the Serum Institute of India, which is the world's largest manufacturer of vaccines by
Mm.
number of doses produced and sold globally, and that is a good thing. Of course, we'll have to see how this pans out. But this session has been extremely informative. So, Dr. Sinha, thank you so much for making time and speaking to us. And for people who are watching, for the feedback and the contribution, thank you so much for watching.